Welcome to my travels before Neither Here Nor There. Barb and I, in our Newmar Dutch Star, did quite a bit of traveling prior to me even thinking about a YouTube channel. So I'm reworking some of those videos and photos because they're wonderful trips. But now I'm neither here nor there, and I'm going to use my footage because it's really good footage and it was such an incredibly wonderful trip. I want to share it with you. Here we are in LeClaire, Iowa at the Buffalo Bill Museum. And here they have the Lone Star, which is a wooden hull, steam-powered, stern-wheeled towboat. She's dry docked and on display at the museum. She was built in 1868 and is the oldest of three surviving steam-powered towboats, the only wooden hull towboat. She was declared a National Historic Landmark. On this trip, of course, we encountered St. Louis and the Arch, which is 623 feet high, and we rode up to the top of it. These photos are from the top of it. It was really cool. It is clad in stainless steel, and it was built in the form of a weighted catenary arch. It's the world's tallest arch and Missouri's tallest building, accessible building, I should say. This is the Mississippi River that goes right past the arch, and it's just so amazing to see the buildings, the boats. I mean, it truly is a waterway that is alive and active today. This is a favorite food of St. Louis, not my favorite. On a very chilly day, when I wasn't feeling my best, Barb drove us to Hannibal, Missouri to see Mark Twain Boyhood Home and Museum. We both truly, truly love this experience. There are 4 historic properties in this little area, plus the town. But you get Mark Twain's home, Becky Thatcher's house, Huckleberry Finn house, and J.M. Clement, Justice of the Peace Office. Mark Twain's dad, Samuel Clemens' dad, was a Justice of the Peace. This was so memorable. I love Mark Twain. Everybody, I think, loves Mark Twain. He was brilliant. He was interesting. He wrote some of our most famous literature. And as I'm learning now, there's some more controversy to him, but there's controversy to everything. Look, Becky Thatcher's house. This is, I don't know if it was the real board fence, but we'll pretend it was. There was no real Becky Thatcher, but she was modeled after Laura Hawkins. We were in Memphis. We had to have the Memphis Hot Chicken. It was really good, and it was really hot. This is not Show Me. I took a picture of that dog because we met these people whose dog looked just like Show Me. And then we went to a local cafe with an Elvis impersonator, and the people with the Show Me look-alike joined us. And that's the guy, the other dog's dad, taking a picture of himself up there with fake Elvis. The Mississippi State Capitol, or they called it the new Capitol, was the seat of government since the old Capitol was replaced in 1903. The history was very interesting. It definitely covered, obviously, the Civil War, and kind of powerful and sad, and yet our history. This is the rotunda. There's Barb resting. We went to the new museum. They had a Mississippi Museum joined with Black History Museum, and we just went to the Black History Museum. We didn't have time to go to both, and we really wanted to see the Black History Museum. It was powerful. It was completely accessible and understandable. Again, it was powerful because the stories are powerful. The stories are not pretty stories. They are true stories. They need to be acknowledged. We today can't take responsibility for what happened back then, but we must take responsibility for what happens in the future. That's my little quick political message. But this was wonderful. Go to these museums whenever you're traveling, wherever you are. If you have an opportunity to go to a museum, go. Whether it's big or little, visit the museums. We've enjoyed all of them. And a little museum that we went to, suggested by my friend Jim, was the Eudora Welty House, which is on the campus of the Mississippi University. The Nachez Trace Parkway is a 444-mile-long national park from Natchez, Mississippi to Nashville, Tennessee. To Confederate President Jefferson Davis, Vicksburg was the quote-unquote nailhead that holds the South two halves together. President Lincoln said it was the key to victory, and it could be the North's lifeline into the South. As the feds, the North, closed in on the fortress city, they were met by a ring of forts with over 170 cannon. The resulting battle would determine the war's outcome. Being here on the battlefield, where so many died, was overpowering almost. We walked and drove to where they spilled their blood. We'd never done that before. We haven't done it since, but it's something I want to do again. It was... I have no words. The full campaign from March 29th claimed 10,142 Union and 9,091 Confederate killed and wounded. Quickly after the siege, both Union and Confederate veterans began planning how to remember the sacrifices of the battle. Today, at the park, are 1,300 monuments, tablets, and markers that honor the soldiers from various states, from various occupations that fought and died at Vicksburg. As you can see, lots of Iowa soldiers went. And today, look, dear, life is continuing, and that's kind of a wonderful thing. There were other states, not just Iowa, but since I was from Iowa, I kind of focused on that. This is the scene of a very deadly battle. The Siege of Vicksburg was from May 18th to July 4th, 1863. One of the 7 shallow draft city-class ironclads that were built for sailing on rivers, the Uss Cairo, was commissioned in January of 1862. It had a short career because on the morning of December 12th, 1862, the captain led a small flotilla of gunboats into the hazardous confines of the Yazoo River. He was supposed to destroy Confederate batteries, clearing the river of torpedoes. They were really underwater mines at the time. The flotilla slowly went up the murky waters, and as the Cairo reached a point 7 miles north of Vicksburg, the flotilla came under fire, and the captain ordered his guns to get ready, and he also said full steam ahead. Seconds later, the Cairo was racked by 2 explosions and sunk. New Orleans is world-renowned for the music, the cuisine, the dialects, the mix of people, for their celebrations and festivals, particularly Mardi Gras. And if you're looking at some of the big trees, you can see the beads hanging on them. The historic heart of the city is the French Quarter, known for its French and Spanish Creole architecture and vibrant nightlife, and there is nightlife, but also a lot of homelessness and Bourbon Street. New Orleans was founded in 1718 by French colonists. It was once the territorial capital of French Louisiana before it became a part of the United States in the Louisiana Purchase of 1803. In 1840, it was the third most populous city in the United States and the largest city in the South from the antebellum era until after World War II. Here are some of the many cemeteries inside the city. And as you notice, the graves are all above ground in their own little mausoleums. And that has to do with the fact that it floods all the time. The city historically has been vulnerable to flooding because of the high rainfall and low elevation. There's poor natural drainage, and there are many different bodies of water all around it. There has been a complex system of levees and drainage, but as we know, in 2005, Hurricane Katrina devastated the city. More than 80% of the city was flooded, and more than 1,800 people were killed. It is a city of eat and drink, and here are their famous beignets. This is also an area that was badly affected by Katrina, and what we learned on our tours of the city was that the lower lying areas that were less protected were minority areas. Areas where people of color, middle-class people of color, lived. The architecture of New Orleans, or New Orleans, is magnificent. What you're seeing right now is kind of the iconic look with the multiple story buildings and the metal railings, and beautiful. This is in the area of the French Quarter and Bourbon Street. Here is there's a central area right off the river with the cathedral and a square where lots of performers and things take place, and you'll see a little bit of that. And again, look at the beautiful buildings. Here's the original Café du Monde, which we went to for beignets and coffee. The beignets were not as good as in some other places. We were disappointed, but we still liked them. We went to the Central Grocery, which is the iconic place to get your muffaletta. And I had to get the special New Orleans drink, the Sazerac. I did not like it. It is very strong. I did order 2 of them, but they were very strong. And of course, it's the Mississippi again. And a paddle boat. We did not take a paddle boat trip. That would have been fun, but we were busy doing all kinds of other stuff. And one of the things we were doing was we were enjoying the street art in that square near the cathedral. The performers were amazing, and we gave them money. Okay, we're back on the Bourbon Street area, and look it. This is pre-espresso, so Show Me and Sapphire were happy. Because I was a teacher, I did that. I don't know why I included that, but whatever. Our friend Christina joined us for New Year's. She flew out from California, and we all had a wonderful New Year's experience. This is a real guy. It was pretty amazing. Christina and I had to try the iconic drinks. We all had to check out museums and whatever else there was to look at. And here's another Sazerac. We had Thanksgiving dinner. That's right, Christina was there for Thanksgiving at Two Jacks, a very famous old restaurant on Bourbon Street. And the food was magnificent. It really was very delicious, as you can see here. And there was some kind of creamy banana pudding. We went to the famous World War II museum. It's brand new. Tom Hanks helped set it up and arrange money for it. But because it was the holidays, it was so crowded, we couldn't even see stuff. We took the ghost tour, which was very interesting. Not scary, just interesting. And later on, a couple days later, Christina and Barb took the vampire tour. And I think they liked that even better than this ghost tour. Supposedly, suitors would climb up these poles to visit their girlfriends, so fathers put those dangerous metal things on the poles to stop the suitors from climbing up or sliding back down. I said there were homeless people. There were quite a few people sleeping on the street. which is kind of hard in this elegantly lovely, old, architecturally beautiful place. One thing we did in New Orleans, and we did in many other cities we went to, is we took the hop-on, hop-off bus. We loved that. You pay a fee, you can get on and off in numerous places around the city, and you can see almost everything that you could want to see and learn, because the bus drivers give you nice talks. So please consider that when you are traveling to a city that has one of those. The food was magnificent. We went to a place called Katie's. Okay, you have to have drinks when you're in New Orleans. It's like the law. But the food, this was a pizza. And others, we went to a number of small restaurants, nothing that was too famous. And then we drove out of the area for a swamp tour. With Christina, we took one swamp tour, and I think a double plantation tour. And then after she was gone, or before she was there, I don't remember, Barb and I took another plantation tour. This is the one with Christina. Look at there's just so much beauty. And we did see alligators. It was amazing that the guys who drove the boats, and I know that's their life, that's what they do, they could spot little alligators, big alligators all over the place, and no one on the boat, including us, saw anything until it was pointed out. This was the tour with Christina. We had a great swamp rainstorm. It was fun. And we stayed pretty dry because the swamp boat had a roof on it. So we still got a little damp making turns and when the wind was blowing. There is a lot of voodoo, I believe is how they pronounced it, they being Barb and Christina after their tour. Voodoo, not voodoo. And back to food. Oh, food was good everywhere. We even tried alligator pie, just 'cause, and it was delicious. I would get it again. We went to Willie Mae's Chicken Shack. I don't believe this is the food from there, but we did go, and it really is kind of a shack. It's in a residential area. We had to stand outside and wait with a bunch of other people, but it was worth it. The Whitney Plantation Historic District is a museum devoted to slavery in the South. The district, including the main house, the outbuildings, are preserved near Wallace in St. John the Baptist Parish in Louisiana, on the River Road along the Mississippi River. It is the only museum in Louisiana with an exclusive focus on the lives of the enslaved people. It was opened to the public in 2014, and the restoration of the plantation was funded by John Cummings, a trial attorney from New Orleans, who owned and operated the property for 20 years. He restored the plantation over a period of 15 years before opening it to the public. I'm not going to talk anymore. I'm just going to let you look, because it's important to see what was, to make sure that we will guarantee what will become is going to be better. I became a major fan of these swamp tours. They were in just boats, not little teeny boats, but one of them was kind of small. It was only maybe a 10-person boat. The other boat, hello, I'm not going to change it, boat was a lot bigger. I have yet to be on an airboat. I'm looking forward to that in the future. The Everglades on an airboat. But these motorboats through the swamps, it was so much fun. We only have done 2 swamps, but they were different and interesting. We did see alligators everywhere. What shocked me was in this one, there were all these raccoons that were hanging around because swamps aren't 100% full of water. There are little dirt areas. And these raccoons lived there. And they would swim out to meet the boat. That raccoon does not look friendly, so luckily he didn't get too close. But whole families of raccoons would come out, and the boat guy had a bucket of corn, and he would throw it at the animals, and you'll see what else were there. As you can see, it's fall. Look at that. Look at how cool they are. And look at the trees. How, I don't understand. I can't remember. But also pigs. Who knew that pigs lived back in the swamps? And here is a pig having a snack. Not Folgers coffee, but corn. So the pigs would hear the boat, and the boat drivers, the captains, if you will, always brought snacks because they wanted the animals, the raccoons, and especially the pigs, to come up to the boat because we, the tourists, enjoyed that. And there's a lot of the tour where you don't see, most of the tour, as a matter of fact, where you don't see any alligators. So you're just incredibly excited when you see warm-blooded animals as you're waiting for the cold-blooded animals to appear. And you can see it's raining. Swamps are wet. This must have been the swamp where Christina was with us, and I just got my films back and forth. And I did. I kind of got things mixed up. Where was I here? Where was I there? I didn't organize as well then as I have now begun to organize. Also, you saw these shacks. People were living there. This isn't just 100% dilapidated, nobody lives there. These are people who live on the swamp. Swamp people. Some homes were really falling apart, and maybe nobody lived there. And then there were other homes that were halfway decent, and you figured somebody might have lived there, like the Sugar Shack. Of course, you would assume there would be some fowl in the water, and there were. This was somebody had a boat and it sunk. Somebody else had this boat. Looks like it's gonna sink anytime, but you know what? It probably will last forever. Sooner or later, there you go. It's a little alligator. One of the boat trips, all we saw were little baby alligators like this, maybe a foot, 18 inches long. But on another swamp tour, we saw some serious grown-up alligators. This is apparently the one with little baby alligators, and they're so cute. It was Christmas in the Bayou, or it might not have been the Bayou, but it was Baton Rouge. I like to say that, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. We went to a big festival, and I made the horrible mistake of deleting all of the sound from this. So I don't have the Zydeco stuff with the kid and the band singing and performing. It was really perfect to go along with all of this, but they had a Christmas wonderland of buildings decorated for the holidays. So we were there. We walked around. We had a good time. It was kind of a special Christmas moment. And here's that music that you can't hear. It's a kid. He's young. He's definitely 15 or under. And then the rest of the people there are his family. It's a family band. Now, a swamp tour in Baton Rouge. We must have done 3 swamp tours somehow, or maybe, I don't know, I could have gotten them confused. This was the one with the small boat that Barb and I went on. The other one must have been more of the one with Christina where it was raining. But you do see different, you can see different trees and plants. Look at the green on the water. I can't remember exactly what it was, but they're little alive things. It's like moss. And it's real. And look, it's an alligator. The man found the alligator. And this was much more open. This had a lot of like open onto the lake land. And then we found out Billy's Boudin shack. And we went there and we bought a whole bunch of stuff. And we brought a bunch of it back to California. But it was delicious. Who knew? We did not until then that Avery Island, this little island, I don't know, you get to it by land. It's not out in the middle of the ocean or anything, is where Tabasco lives and grows. This is the Tabasco Company. And you can take tours. It's a self-guided tour, so it was really a lot of fun. And you can smell the Tabasco, whatever the seasonings are, all over the place. It kind of gets in your nose, but that's part of the fun. And so here is the packaging. It is a real factory, even though it's, in the middle of nowhere. They have like a natural park area all around, and we will drive through a little bit of that. They also have a museum. Of course, all companies seem to have the museum of their products from days gone by, and a store where you can buy Tabasco that you cannot buy in any normal store, but you have to get there. And then, of course, they have the big... it's just so interesting. This is their park, and it was as nice as any other, true city park. And they have a beware of alligators, and there was an alligator. This was our closest interaction with a wild, not in a pen or in the river when we were in a boat, alligator. And Barb was very fascinated. She got as close as I would kind of let her get, because they say alligators move fast. They say they can turn around. This alligator was probably 5 feet long, but it could still hurt you. We are back at the swamp. Another thing in this more lake-like swamp with the green on top of it were tortoises, turtles. Millions of them. Okay, not really millions. Dozens and dozens of them sitting, here you go, on rocks, sitting on fallen logs. They were everywhere, and I think, sadly for them, that sometimes the alligators like a little turtle snack. And I know that the Cajun people do, because the guy driving the boat talked about coming and catching turtles for turtle soup and getting gators, again, for meals. So the people who live here, and it makes sense, do make meals out of what's available, what nature has provided. And what nature has provided are alligators and fish and birds and tortoises, and of course raccoons and pigs. I like cattails. There were lots of beautiful little flowers and various. Now look, that is not a log. Oh, that is an alligator, and that's a big alligator. That was at least a 8 to 10, 12 foot one. Just mellowing there, hiding kind of. You can see his eyes open. His or her, we don't know. And that was, as you can tell, obviously, from the fact that I took so many photos, I was fascinated. I am always fascinated by things like that. And you would be too, because they're fascinating. Pretty soon I'll quit with this alligator, because we did see another big one too somewhere. I don't remember where, but it was on this particular lake kind of swamp tour housed the biggest alligators. And maybe they're so big because they eat so many tortoises, and that's good food for them. There were lots of birds. Look, I got this heron or whatever it is, egret, flying. I had to take that one as a good picture, because it's hard to get birds flying. Although not maybe, it looks like in this one I got a bunch of birds flying, so we're good. There were also lots of other birds that the guy pointed out, and even that's an eagle's nest way up there, but I did not see an eagle. I was looking, but that's a huge nest. These are just more of the smaller birds. And you're going to see, there you go, that building out there, which you're going to see more of those. That's for bird hunting. People will go there and they will hang out and wait until the birds land, mostly ducks, and then shoot them. They will also throw out decoy ducks. So they'll get a whole bunch of fake ducks, throw them out on the water so that the real ducks flying in the air will go, hey, it's a party, let's go down there and join it. And then they will get shot. That's Sapphire. She wanted to help with the voiceover. Look at that gator. Now that's a good one because he's not covered with green. You can really see the alligator of him, and you can see how big he is. That's you don't want to go swimming with that alligator. And look, those are not real ducks. Those are the fake ducks they put to trap the real ducks. I don't know if they eat these birds, but I bet they do, because based on what the guy said, they pretty much eat anything and everything. And I mean the people who live down there. It's just part of the culture. I could probably lose a lot of weight that way. Look, the fish jumped out of the water, but it was blurry, but it jumped out. That was one of the many interesting things that I found. The boat driver said this was a molting eagle. I don't know, but it's as close as I got. And there's another one of those houses and more birds. There are lots of those. I love these birds with the long necks because I don't see them for the most part very often. Only on boat tours and in a winery that I went to. Thanks again for joining me on my 2019, that's when this trip happened, tour of down the Mississippi. Please, if you've got some free time, take your own down the Mississippi tour. It's really fascinating. I can't wait to go back, and I can't wait to explore in a variety of directions from the places I've already visited. Subscribe if you haven't, please. Ask your friends to subscribe. The more subscribers, the better. Thanks a lot.